Big Drive Energy, October 21st, Monday edition. We've got a lot to talk about from the fall series on the PGA Tour, our trip to New Orleans, the Scheffy of the week, some insane Ryder Cup prices coming into 2025, Tim O'Neill, Jake Stiano, Matt McCarty, and always finishing our Mondays up with a Mulligan Monday. I've got a real treat of one for this Monday. All right, let's tee it up. Big Drive Energy Monday edition, fresh off of another great weekend of just sports. We're about to hit the sports equinox. How was your weekend, brother? How was the trip back? I saw you on Friday morning, very early. I regret the early flight every time I wake up on a trip, but then I get home and I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I did that. It's a real win-loss, win-win until I get home.
Well, so the worst part for me, for those of you who don't know, we went to New Orleans for the Broncos Saints game, Thursday Night Football. So we flew down Wednesday, played some golf Thursday morning, flew out Friday. My biggest issue is I always wake up when you wake up because we obviously share a hotel room. So I didn't fly out for another like 2 hours, but I subconsciously am like paranoid about you not waking up, which is probably a me problem, but I still can't fucking just sleep right through you waking up. So then I'm awake. And at that point, I basically am just fucking up anyways. Like I tried to go back to sleep and I maybe did for 30, 45 minutes. But at that point, I should have just gotten to the hotel. I do have my Mulligan Monday is going to be my flight back. So I'm not going to talk about that. And it's a bad one. It's very not good. I told my girlfriend about it, and I it's one of those things that's so embarrassing, like you don't even want to say it. You're like, I just don't want to even let it out. So I'll save that for the end of the episode because it was rough. But I honestly kind of thought we forgot how to podcast for a minute. It's been a little bit, so I was ready to get back. We got a shitload to talk about. I guess, should we start with New Orleans? How was your flight back? How was your weekend? Also, flying back on a Friday is a million times better than flying back on like a Sunday or a Monday.
Oh, yeah. I've learned that over the last couple of weeks. Like, my ideal work trip is on a Thursday when you get back, and either you get back Thursday night or early Friday, and then you kind of get through Friday and have a weekend. Flying home on a Sunday is a disaster. I mean, last time you flew home on a Sunday after our trip to Whistling Straits, no big deal. Well, you got to go right to MetLife and to a football game and have a pretty good Sunday. That Monday must have hit pretty hard for your 9 to 5 job that you got. I know you got to get up pretty early on Monday mornings, but flying home right before the weekend is peak. Like, I got home Friday. I went to Boo at the Zoo Friday night. That was 2 Fridays ago. I'm just mixing in my weekends. Boo at the Zoo was electric.
Yeah, okay.
But then last Friday, I went to the Avs game, and my son is surprisingly very into hockey. And I say surprisingly just because it's been a little while since he's been to a game of any sort. We took him to a Broncos preseason game in August, but it's been since last season where he's been to an actual in-arena sport other than baseball, which I love baseball, love my Rockies, but I get bored sometimes watching it. Or if you don't know the ins and outs of what's going on, you definitely get a little bored watching baseball. But he was dialed in to the ice and to the puck and like following it around. So the dad heart in me was really stoked to see that because, to be honest, like I fully planned on not bringing him after that again and going the babysitter route for the next couple of games that we go to be clear, because I was like, dude, if we're going to go, I'd rather just go to less games and sell other games and then bring him when it's applicable.
Bless,
Oh my God.
bless you.
Wow. Perfect timing for that.
Great for the audio.
I sneezed today. Another off train derailment here, but I sneezed today while the dentist was in my mouth. That was very uncomfortable. That was very because I was like gurgling this fucking water, and I was like, I'm gonna sneeze, and I couldn't say it. And she's like, close your mouth on the thing, and I was like, and just fucking sneezed, and I was like, oh, this is so bad.
I actually heard a statistic. This is kind of fucked up, but the highest like suicide rate among careers is, I guess, dentists are some of the highest. But it also kind of makes sense because if somebody sneezed in my face, I wouldn't want to continue with that day. Like if I was working in your mouth and you sneezed right in my eye hole, I'd be so out.
Well, for the record, I don't know if it's every dentist or just mine, but they have a good extensive amount of face mask on over their nose and glasses and the whole bit. So it definitely didn't get into her mouth at all. Or
Did you have to hit the windshield wipers after you sneeze? Just fucking
No,
clear all your
luckily,
spit off her face?
it was just one of those little nose sneezes where you're like, you keep it in. You don't, not like your girlfriend where she fucking yells like she's trying to get the crowd's attention.
Every time Missy sneezes, I like turtle. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Public
It's not
sneeze
good.
for her has got to be a mess. But anyways, went to the Avs game. Kid was really into it. That was fun to see. I feel like he earned himself another trip to a game. And then we went to bed late, or he went to bed late for his normal, 8 p.m. bedtime, and he slept till like almost 8:30 or 9 o'clock Saturday morning. And so I told Kylie, I was like, maybe we should start going, having him go to bed at 10 p.m. on Fridays, a little late night Friday night treat. He can go to bed late so we can sleep in on. We actually were up and at him and doing things on Saturday morning before he even got out of bed. So it was a good weekend though, just full of football and hanging out, not having to work. So it was good.
So real quick, I do want to talk about our pick'em, but let's real quick. Saturday, I went to I went to an apple orchard, which is by a lot of
apple picking
standards.
Weekend.
It was apple picking weekend. The college slate was actually pretty fucking good. I was in front of a TV by like 4 p.m. So on Eastern time, that's like I missed some of the there was really no early like good ranked matchups. The first good ranked matchup, which ended up being an absolute turd, was Alabama. Alabama, Tennessee, which ended up being a snoozer for the most part. But dude, these places are just insane, and the people just snapping Instagram pics. And I did repost a few Instagram stories from my girlfriend. But this place was phenomenal with the apple cider. We picked a few pumpkins that we're gonna draw faces on. But I sent you that picture? Did you see that apple cider sundae, ice cream sundae that I sent you?
Yeah, was that the one with the donut on top?
Yeah, so it's an apple cider or float. I'm sorry, it's an apple cider float. So it's apple cider with ice cream in it, and then it's got a apple cider donut on top, and then the rim of the cup is caramel and dipped in sprinkles. And it was probably like a top 5 thing I've ever had because I love apple cider. That shit is fire. And then this place we went to is also known for apple cider hot dogs. So they actually like instead of hot dog water, they keep them in apple cider. So that is a million times better than hot dog water. And they really don't taste that much like apple cider, but you get little hints of it here and there. Definitely better than just meat water boiling sitting there. So very interesting, but just the sheer amount of people. It was funny, this chick that worked there. So we were in line waiting for these floats, and it was probably 40 to 50 people long. This one girl was just walking out with like 2 floats at a time, being like $20 for these 2, cash only, gotta buy 2 of them. And it was the owner there. It's like a family run operation, obviously, but the owner was like telling her to do this. And she was, every time she walked out 2. And so we ended up grabbing one. There was a couple behind us that wanted one. And she looked at the couple and goes, "You got to take them both." And we're like, "We'll take one." But she was just so hardcore, like, "You have to take two." Like, we were being held hostage by this 14-year-old over buying a fucking apple cider float. But we ended up getting down on some hot dogs, some fucking apple cider. And then we went to a cider place, like an alcoholic cider place. That was an absolute zoo. There was like 400 people there. But that place was awesome too. They had like the pear cider. They had a cherry vanilla cider. They had a few like pumpkin spice ones. So it was a good Saturday. It was honestly a fun weekend. And then just watch college football all night. Iowa let us down, but what's new?
Yeah, we got let down pretty hard. Some dude named Chili's just put it in our chili ring all night. Michigan State didn't punt once, but I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about our golf in New Orleans a little bit. So very hungover. It was rough. It was a little windy. It felt cold to me. I'm very soft when it comes to cold weather. Luckily, I had not only my bag sunglasses, thank God, but I had a bag jacket, which I'm normally Mr. Jacket Everywhere guy. Like, I could be flying from Denver in the middle of the summer to Orlando, Florida in the middle of the summer, and I'm still wearing a hoodie on the plane usually for my
Wait,
comfortability.
you're saying you jacket anywhere?
Yeah,
Like
I'm
on the plane everywhere? That
everywhere. I'm just jacket here, jacket there, jacket off the plane, jacket on the plane. No matter how hot it is, I'm just jacket all the time.
Oh,
Jacket guy.
okay. Yes. So you had your bag jacket, which was good, but I will say when you're a little hungover, which we were that morning, 100%, and just more tired. Like, I think I discovered that I didn't necessarily feel like shit. Like, we didn't black out, so that was good. Relatively coherent, other than you took us about 2.5 miles away from our desired destination in New Orleans. So you're officially never allowed to run the direction show ever again, because I don't know what the fuck happened, but we ended up, and that is the one city where they tell you, like, don't wander around at night. And Spencer, of all people, just fucking doesn't care. He's like, "Oh, let's walk to the other side of town," when the place we're trying to go is 4 blocks away. So that was a nightmare. But ultimately, we didn't get like that fucked up. We just probably only got like 5.5 hours of sleep. So I just woke up and was already just regretting the tea time that we had made. And there's nothing worse than that when you wake up and a couple weeks ago you make the tea time. It sounds like a great idea. And then you wake up and you're like, why did we do this shit? This is the biggest mistake. I would love nothing more than to just lay in this hotel bed, go get some brunch, come back and take a nap, and then go to the football game. But there we were at the golf course. And it was like probably 55-ish degrees. I thought it felt great. And this place, English Turn, first of all, backtrack a little, both of us almost threw up in the Uber. It was one of those, like, you get a little stuffy and I'm like, I need to roll the window down. I just did not feel good about it. I was kind of getting hot back there. So that's where the cool air came in. But then we got to the course and it was honestly awesome. You can talk about the starter a little bit because he was a treat, but I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, so our first golf topic of the day, we're going to talk about a tweet from Nuclear Golf, great golf account to follow on the X. And they asked a question about if you've ever had a good experience with the starter. And we actually had a great experience with the starter. We'll get to this tweet, but our starter at English Turn, incredible dude. His name was James. He was probably mid 60s, maybe, or late 60s, early 70s. And he was, I think, a Marine Corps guy because I think he had a U.S. Marine Corps lanyard or something like
I was
that.
going to
But
say he was definitely a veteran of some sort.
yeah, he rolls up. And first of all, so it kind of grinded my gears a little bit. I don't know why I was offended by it, but there was two brothers that were slotted to play with us. They were both Broncos fans as well in New Orleans, just like us, in every way of the form. And they're like, no, we don't want to hold you up. We just want to play together, just the two of us. And I'm like, the course allowed it, so I wasn't like dead set on playing with these two nerds, but I was almost like offended by the fact that they were like, didn't want to play with us. I was like, are you too cool for us? Like, what's the story? Then we get into it. This guy got robbed the night before. All his stuff was gone. He was trying to call his work. And after talking to them for about 5 minutes, I realized that I most certainly didn't want to play with them either. But the guy was so rude about not wanting to play with us that I took it personally. And I'm just like that. I took it personally. We had a great time, just the two of
You
us.
didn't let it go for like 3 or 4 holes. You're like, why didn't those fucking guys want to play with us? I'm like, why do you not just want to play with me? You'd rather, and they were like from Louisville, Kentucky. They were not they were interesting dudes. Let's just put it that way. But I actually want to pose before you finish about the starter. This is a question for our listeners because Spencer thought I was in the wrong on this. I thought he was in the wrong on this. So I want to get everyone's opinion. When you're playing a casual round of golf, and it's not obviously we were nothing serious. We were just out there to have a good time, record some videos. But say Spencer had a birdie putt from 10 feet and he was ready before I was, say I had a 20 footer. He hits the 10 footer, misses it, quick rakes it, and hits it again before I even get the chance to hit my 20 footer. Like I'm reading it or whatever, but I'm not doing it slowly. I'm hitting it within the next 10, 15 seconds. But Spencer just quick rakes it and immediately hits it again before I even hit my putt. I was honestly a little offended. Like you could tell. And it was just one of those things that, like you said, it stuck in my craw for some reason because you did it multiple times. Like I addressed it on the first hole and you kept doing it. And I just think it's like common courtesy to let the other players hit their first putts before you hit your second putt. Now you can vouch for yourself. You can make whatever argument you want, but I personally felt like I was in the right there, no matter if it's casual or tournament or anything.
You are correct in what you're saying, and I can't really rebut anything that you said of what happened, but I also thought you took it a little too seriously, like the fact that we were out there trying to post a number or something like that. Like sorry I'm quick. Like sorry you're slow and I'm quick that I could just quick rake and still hit my putt in the time. To me, if somebody else is putting and I'm like hitting a birdie putt, like unless it's like a 4-footer where they're like right in my area, like I was so far away from you on the opposite side of the hole that, and you weren't like mid stroke either. That's the other thing. If you were like mid stroke and I'm just raking one and putting it again, probably kind of rude, but I think you were still behind it. I don't even think you were amongst the ball. You were still behind it. And I was like, all right, well, he's clearly not going at this quickly. So I'm just going to go quick rake it and putt it again and say I made a par because I'm going to make the second putt.
See, and that is the one fair argument is like, if you're sitting there and I still haven't hit my putt, then you know, if I'm nowhere near hitting it, but that wasn't actually the case. If somebody is taking forever, then sure, go ahead and hit a second putt. But also, we were going nowhere. There was groups stacked up in front of us. So your argument is moot, whatever the fuck that word is. And then you do this lovely thing where I call you out for something, and instead of just saying, I'm sorry, whatever, you just double down and you gaslight me into thinking it's my problem, and you're just a giant fucking asshole about it. You're like arguing with my girlfriend where somehow it ends up being your fault. Like you get angry and it ends up being your fault. I'm like, I can bring this up. This annoyed me. And it ends up being a thing that I apologize for like 10 minutes later, but that just grinded my gears. So I forgive you, even though you haven't apologized. I'll let it go. Try not to do it again. You will, but finish telling the starter story and then we'll get to some golf.
Well, let me be the first to say on the pod recorded, I'm sorry.
I appreciate that.
For absolutely fucking nothing. So our starter, James, was fucking awesome. Middle-aged dude, maybe a little older. And at first I was annoyed by him as well. And I think everything was annoying at that point. Like I just wanted to, I was cold.
I think the hungover,
nobody wanted to play with us, like just aggravated. I was, nothing was going right. But he comes up and it's pretty windy and he's smoking this cigarette. And this cigarette's flying everywhere, all around. The smoke's flying everywhere. And then he gets into it about the golf course and each hole. And I think looking back on it, it was actually a pretty cool experience where he was very nice to us, very nice to the other guys. He took pictures of us like unsolicited, which was a cool thing.
The other guys were kind of assholes to him. Did you notice that? And like,
well, I think they were just kind of not there in general. Like they just weren't. They didn't seem like the most personable dudes ever from the start.
Because he goes, "Are you ready for the rundown on the golf course?" And they're still talking, like just being douchebags. And I just see him like take a cigarette out of his mouth and just stand there and like stare at him for a few seconds. I was like, "Hey, fucking listen up to our boy over here so we can go tee off."
Yeah, and then he gave the rundown of the course. Water on 14 out of 18 holes. Jack Nicklaus design. Greens 5 and 6, 13 and 14. Had some bad spots on him, which he didn't like apparently. But
smallest greens I've ever seen in my fucking life. By the way.
The greens were the size of a normal bedroom. Basically, every single green. It was nearly impossible to hit. But overall, just a cool experience from the starter because we didn't tee off till 10:25, and we were supposed to tee off at 10:12. Now, some of that was that one of the most insane things I've also ever seen on a golf course is letting somebody that played the back nine cut in front of someone that has a tee time on the front nine. That grinded my gears as well. Hungover or not, that would have pissed me off. And because I like to play semi-fast, like if there's a foursome in front of you and they're playing at a general pace, but that's what also annoyed me about the fact that these guys didn't want to play with us is I knew we weren't going anywhere. So being two and not going anywhere is like, because we still have that
three straight groups of two at that point. Like the guys in front of us didn't want to play with us. The guys behind us didn't want to play with us. And even though we played in like 4 hours and 15 minutes, it felt a lot slower because it was just two of us.
Yeah. And you have that internal, when you've played enough golf, you have that internal clock where despite me hitting multiple putts on the first hole and sequential holes after that,
on like 8 holes after that,
you can't like you want to do that fast still, you know, and even though you're not going anywhere, you don't want to be sitting there putting putts on the green when the people behind you are waiting to hit their approach shots. Whereas if it's a 4-4-4, you kind of feel like, oh, you know, we've all four putted. What's another 2 seconds? Like we're going up to the tee box. Anyways, starter James was my guy. He was awesome. But the nuclear golf tweet, some of the funny responses to this. So once again, this is a tweet from Nuclear Golf. They said, have you ever had a bad experience with a starter? And a lot of the people, the most liked reply to it was, I think, have you ever had a good experience with a starter is a more accurate question. And then this other guy, starter laughed at us when we walked back to the tips. That's for the big boys. Come on down and play the whites. That would be pretty funny to get. Like, because in my heart, I would know he's probably right. Like, I would probably just meander on down to the white tees, depending upon how tough the course is or long it is. But then this guy, like, slight flex with, had to get gin apps out to show him we were all between +1 and 1. And actually, some people were backing him up. I thought some people would be shitting on him in the comments, but
no. So real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just have a story about a starter experience that I had.
No, and then we just have grouchiest person on earth. Basically, while at a local muni, you can't wear that sweatshirt. Pro Shop didn't say anything about it. And then the guy said, I'm the final say. Okay, chief. Yeah, I mean, starters are a necessary thing. And it's just something that we understand because we've been on the other side of the counter and a lot of people just won't. Now, do they have to be an asshole? No. Some guys complaining about asking what's in the cooler. It's kind of part of the job. Like when you run a business, you don't bring your own beer into a bar, just like you don't bring your own beer onto a golf course. You purchase it there. So, I mean, there's definitely a way of going about it, but we've had our starters and marshals collect many coolers in the day. But I'll let you, you can tell your starter story.
Well, I will add real quick before the story that a starter kind of sets the tone for a day. So it really sucks if you have a shitty starter. A good starter is not going to make sure you have a good day, but I would almost equate it to having a dealer in blackjack that doesn't hate your guts and just think you're the biggest douchebag in the world. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to play the round of your life, but it means you may have a better time than you originally were going to have, because there's nothing worse that we had terrible blackjack dealers down at Caesars, got just shown the 50 states by those fucking dealers. It was not less than ideal, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of sets the tone. You say, hey, what's going on, man? The first thing is like, what's in that cooler? What's that hoodie? fucking this and that. You're playing the wrong tees. It's like, whoa, dude, I just showed up. Like, you know what I mean? uh, but the story that I had, when I was playing the old course in, not a big deal. Oh, wrong shoulder right here. I actually played there. I just don't have that shit. And I played there as well for all you haters. But when I was playing the old course, so they have a handicap requirement to play the golf course. Like you have to be within a 27 or 28, whatever. But I didn't carry a handicap at the time because I was a pro. And so I was like a +4 or +5 the last time I had kept a handicap. But they need a verification. So I had to have our head pro write a letter, like a signed letter, and he's PGA, whatever, that says this is my handicap and yada, 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 just verifying who I am. So I get to the first tee. The starter still wouldn't let me play the back tees. And at the time, playing off a +4 or +5, he goes, just play with the 1-ups on this hole, and then you can move to the backs. And I mean, I get it, like it's the old course, but at the same time, if I'm not playing the backs, and not sound like a douchebag, but who is playing the backs, you know? And the old course is not a long course. It's not a hard course. It's just a very historic course, but it's not like you're playing, what's that fucking course out in Mesquite, Nevada, or Wolf Creek, or it's not one of the hardest courses in the world by any stretch of the imagination. And the back tee was like 15 yards back. It was on the same tee box. So this guy's like, oh, just play the 1-ups. So they take that shit very seriously over there, and you kind of just abide by their rules. But I was really like, I'm hitting iron off this tee either way. It doesn't really matter if I play 15 yards back or 15 yards forward, but just kind of like over in Scotland and Ireland, they take that shit very seriously.
Yeah, and I guess they kind of have to, but at the same time, your handwritten letter, while all true, and Justin Serbo would never forge a letter, could have been you just forging a letter pretty easily, you know, like, so I get where he had a little bit of angst about you playing the back tees, but at the same time, a course like that, it's not a long course, you know, you're not going to just hit it unless you topped it off the first tee. Then it'd be like, hey, sport, why don't you go up to the whites or the reds or whatever tee box is ahead of that? Why don't you just top one off the first tee?
I did hit a good tee shot, like striped, I think probably a hybrid, but I did dump my second shot right in the water in front of the green. So I was like, fuck me. This guy, he's got me shriveled right off number one, and then he's in my head living rent free. But I did end up shooting like 73 at the old course. I played pretty fucking good. So
From the
not a big
1-ups
deal.
or what?
No, from the back tees. I'm not fucking going over there to play 1-ups. Like, and that is the other thing is depending on the course you're at as a starter, you, like I said, you have to let people have their experience. Like there's a fine line between running a business and letting people do what they want to do that they're paying money to be here for. But then again, St. Andrews, there's a million people, like you literally have to put your name into a lottery to get a tee time at this place. So they can kind of dictate a little bit more like what rules you follow and don't follow. But also people are flying in from all over the world for this place. So at that point, you kind of got to take that into account, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay, let's go with our Scheffy of the week on this Monday. So each week, I think that we're not going to get another arrest of some sort, but we still keep getting that arrest each single week. And you pointed this one out to me. I kind of forgot about it, but Scotty Scheffler is on College Game Day he was the celebrity guest picker, wearing his green jacket. Just fairway or four, real quick. Boom. Quick answer.
Fairway. I mean, you got it. Fucking, there's a lot of references I can make, but if you got it, fucking flaunt it. If you rock it, I don't think it's that big of a douchebag move. He could have worn something Texas, considering it was College Game Day. And I guess somebody like slipped the FedEx Cup trophy in there too. Like anybody gives a fuck about that. That was more like embarrassing than wearing the green jacket was. But did you see, what did you think of it?
I thought it was a little kind of, I don't know. Coming from Scotty Scheffler, I was like, oh, that's cool. He's being a little pompous. Coming from somebody else, I'd have been like, that's so douchey. If like,
yeah,
Bubba Watson
he's
showed
never
up
the
wearing-
guy. Yeah, he's never the guy to like brag about it. So if he had any opportunity, why would he not? And real quick, so Missy asked me this, and I really have no idea. How do you think they get College Game Day guests? Like, do they reach out to the people, or do the people reach out to them? Because like there's a million people that have gone to UT. Like, how are you going to pick, Scotty Scheffler?
Oh, I bet it's like the game day crew finds like an alum or somebody that lives in the area, somebody that's a fan of the team. Matthew McConaughey's sitting there pissed off that he's fucking losing it to Scotty Scheffler. But that's besides the point. Our Scheffy of the week goes to none other than our favorite QB1 from back in the day, Jay Cutler. If you didn't see in the news, Jay Cutler definitely got arrested on DUI and gun possession in Franklin, Tennessee. Officers responded. This is from CNN Sports. Franklin Police Department in a statement said that officers responded to an accident and detected the smell of alcohol in Cutler, who also had bloodshot eyes and was slurring words. Tell me what that's like.
Never been there. I just can't relate. So go on.
This is the best part. According to police report, Cutler attempted to flee the scene after offering the other driver $2,000 to not call the police. That is such
I did not
legendary
see that.
move.
That's fucking awesome. That's like Will Ferrell from the campaign. Just fucking tries to slip him $100 bill and dip out of there. It's like, yeah, that's not really how the law works.
Yeah, but $2,000. Where's your threshold where you wouldn't call the police? I'd have to assess the damage on my car first of all. Maybe an autographed football from Jay. Vanderbilt. It's in Tennessee. He's probably a Vandy guy. Like this fan or whoever got hit might like Vanderbilt or know someone that does. Commodore's
I didn't realize he hit someone. I thought he just got pulled over. So
no. Offering the cop $2,000. That would have.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Also,
that's why I was cracking up.
That's a 5th felony along his record. Having a loaded pistol, being drunk, hitting someone. He's adding all these up.
I'd say 10 grand. I'd need at least 10 to not call the cops. Probably 5 for the car, 5 for my pocket. Like, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think 10 grand is reasonable to get you out of that. So congrats to our Scheffy of the week, Mr. Vanderbilt Commodore, Denver Bronco, Chicago Bear, QB1 in our hearts for a long time. Even when he was a Bear, just true gunslinger. What a guy.
Still got his fastball.
Still got the fastball. Okay, let's move on to the 2025 Ryder Cup. This has been a point of contention. This came out a couple years ago, actually, or a couple weeks ago, excuse me, about the 2025 Ryder Cup, that the minimum prices just to get in the door are $750. Well, what if I tell you can get in the door for less than half that price, but you got to volunteer? You're paying to go to the 2025 Ryder Cup, which is absolutely hilarious to me. So a story from James Colgan in golf.com. So it's $350 for you to volunteer at the 2025 Ryder Cup. Now you do get, let's see here, you get a pretty sick swag bag.
I think you get like a drawstring bag and a fucking collective pin and like food. I'm pretty sure that's all you get.
Volunteer uniform, drawstring bag, commemorative pin, food during shifts only. Make sure you can't just go to the venue. You can't just go to Bethpage and eat when you're not on shift. And a tournament credential for $350. And a lot of people are obviously pretty upset about it. Somebody called it tone deaf. And it's $80 more than than next April's PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, which I didn't realize. Like, I didn't do enough research into this, but I didn't know this was a thing in general. It maybe makes more sense for an event like this, but I was kind of always under the impression that like volunteering for the BMW even, which is pretty close to a major, it was a high level tour event, top 50 players. I don't know if those people paid to work or they just got to work for free or they worked for free in order for free gear and doing their job. But apparently this is kind of a thing. And it's $80 more than volunteering for the PGA Championship. And the 2019 PGA Championship was $175. So it sounds like the PGA is just getting a little needing some dollars for this Ryder Cup to put this Ryder Cup on.
Yeah, I mean the biggest problem is it's gonna price out a lot of the rabid Northeastern fans that are going to come from everywhere, because you're staying on Long Island. So first of all, that's probably going to be $300 to $400 to $500 a night minimum for like a Super 8. And then you've got a $750 ticket for one day. So that's not a full week pass or anything. That doesn't get you anything extra. That gets you one day. And then I'm sure the liquor, this is probably a $4,000 to $5,000 trip easily. And the Ryder Cup, I will say, is an all-time event. If you're going to spend that kind of coin on something, that's probably an event that is worth it. But like you said, I read that is kind of a standard thing that people need to pay to volunteer, which I think is horseshit. But at the same time, it kind of filters through the people that just want a free ticket and don't actually want to do anything, because I'm sure there's plenty of those as well. But I just couldn't in my right mind justify paying to volunteer my time just to go then be able, like, how many days of because if you're working, I wonder what the requirements are. Like if you're working all 4 days of the tournament, then a pass through the gates means nothing because you can't go watch any of it because you're working the whole time. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And yes, the price of the tickets is definitely a little tone deaf, and it's going to be interesting on the secondary market to see what those go for, because there's going to be scalpers buying as many of them as they can and then reselling them for probably 2 to 3 times the price. So people are going to end up walking through the gates for like $1,500 to $2,000. And let's just put it this way. That's not going to be fucking Billy Bob from up the street, that's ripping a 6 a.m. heater standing in line. That's going to be a bunch of corporate stuff shirt, white collar bullshit. And that's not what we need at the Ryder Cup. We need people that are willing to get kicked out for the shit that they say, willing to say questionable things to the Europeans and really drive home our hatred as the U.S. for the Europeans. So we may not see the crowd that we were anticipating at Bethpage with these ticket prices.
Yeah, well, and what's ironic about that too is Bethpage Black is a great golf course. Clearly, it's had multiple majors there, great spot, great location in the United States to hold an event like this where it's Europeans versus Americans. But it's also a golf course you can just go play for like 80 beans. Like there was a tweet about
if you live there, it's 80. If you're a non-resident, it's like 220, I think. But either way, it's not $700 to go play there.
Right. I'd just be like, okay, well, I'm not going to volunteer and get this sick commemorative bag. I'm going to go play it 2 weeks before, or that's probably not happening. Probably like 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after, and not have the prices inflated everywhere.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you could pay $200 to actually play the course, or you could pay $700 to watch somebody else play it, and also deal with hundreds of thousands of people waiting in line, fucking using porta potties, eating stale hot dogs, drinking flat sodas out of fucking Bethpage. I think I would probably rather play it than, but the majority of people, your average amateur would rather watch some guy fire 67 or whatever and armchair quarterback that shit than actually go out there and fire like a 110.
Yeah, I mean, but saying you got to play the course where the Ryder Cup's at, I can say that actually. You cannot. You were on property, so close enough. But no, it's a pretty cool thing overall, and courses like that hold that in high regard. But it is crazy that there's not people that can just show up like with their families and go watch the Ryder Cup in 2025. It's going to have to be, you're going to have to be in a different financial level, unless it's something that you do all the time and you can just eat it. It's not going to be the people that are like, oh, I live in New York. Ryder Cup's coming, 2 hours away. Oh, I'll make the day trip for $1,500. No, I could fly to LA and go to, a show or go to the Genesis in LA or something like that for the same price that it costs you just to get 2 people into the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So next we've got JT Poston won in Las Vegas at the Shriners Open this past weekend. His first win as a dad. And we saw the Instagram video. Did you notice anything interesting about what he said in the Instagram video? That I only noticed when a comment brought it up.
No, I did not. What did he say?
So his daughter's name is Scotty, and one of the first comments goes, "Nobody's going to mention he named his daughter after the world's best golfer."
Okay, yes. Now that you do say that, I noticed her name. Um, and I'm not like fairway or four Scotty is a girl's name. Like there's some, gender fluid names that can kind of go both ways, but I definitely don't feel like Scotty. I'm not picturing a girl when I hear the name Scotty.
Dude, I am so tone deaf on, like, I don't even try to put my mind around what's a girl's and guy's name anymore. I feel like I've kind of given up on that. Like, my son's name is Sawyer Ellis. We had a friend just have a kid, and it's a girl, and her name is Drew Ellis. Like, that could very easily be my son's. I don't know. Maybe
That sounds like Arkansas's next starting quarterback, like Drew Ellis. That sounds like a mid-level SEC quarterback that's about to go throw 3 picks Saturday.
Yeah, to me, I don't know what's a classified name anymore. What's not? I know there's a few. Like I don't think we'll ever get to the point in the world where a girl's named like Matt or Tom or something like that. Or a guy being like Sabrina or I don't know. I don't think it's fairway. I think Scotty's on the edge though. Like if I had to like take a moment and think about the names itself, it's on the edge. Like you're definitely not calling her Scott for sure. I mean, maybe way down the line if some things happen and then she turns into Scott, that could happen. But like I wouldn't think like
Jesus Christ.
any girl, that like is like a 16, 17-year-old girl would like to go by Scott. It would be Scotty or she's probably going to end up going by her middle name here soon, which is probably May.
So yeah, Scotty May. But I will say we both watched Suits. That woman lawyer goes by Scotty, but I think it's her last name. It's definitely, I don't think it's her first name. So just an interesting choice, neither here nor there. Good on him. But honestly, I'm just upset at the fact that we didn't know, like this information wasn't given to us because dad power and strength is yet to be outdone by anything. Like any new dad is always going to, outkick their coverage a little bit, do a little bit better now that they're a dad. I'm still waiting for whatever you do to do it better now that you're a dad. Like it's been like 15 months now and you're just as bad at everything, if not worse. So I'm still waiting for that. At some point I'm going to look at you and be shocked and be like, holy shit, I didn't think you had that in you, but I'm still waiting on that. But yeah, I wish we'd had this information ahead of time so we could have hammered him responsibly and just fucking made us some dough. Also, by the way, I missed a touchdown parlay yesterday for $7,000 that by one fucking player, 7 out of 8 legs hit. So I'm betting wise not going great.
Betting wise, you're in a little bit of I don't even know if that's a slump. That's just maybe a bad beat. Who was it again?
It was A-Chain, Devon A-Chain.
Oh, yeah. Well, betting on any Dolphin to score a touchdown right now is a losing effort, but we'll go on. Also on the PGA Tour, so shout out to JT Poston. I got to talk with his caddy a little bit on Sunday morning of the BMW Championship. May or may not be a guest of the program at some point, but now that he's won, we might be fucked. Either way, congrats to both of them.
It's his 3rd career win, dipshit. He's won before.
Well, yeah, but like a recent win, like they're not gonna, now. It's
yeah,
like,
he's not gonna come knocking on Big Drive Energy's door after he wins on the PGA Tour. Let's just put it that way.
No, but the caddy, really good singer apparently too, and that's like a thing. So that the caddy would be an electric hang on the podcast. Let's move over to
wait. I gotta give a shout out to Doug Gim. He finished 2nd. I played with him when I was like 16. That means something. I think that's his highest finish on tour. So shout out Doug Gim. Also, our boy, friend of the program, Mark Hubbard, finished T13. So played pretty well. And then, while we're at it, Joel Damon.
Well, Joel Damon, which is not one of our many topics on this pod, but Joel Damon needs to play well. He is currently sitting at 127th on the PGA Tour points list with halfway through the fall season.
So is he uh who's this NFL team that's just fallen off a cliff? Um
He's the New
who is
Orleans
it?
Saints.
Well, no, who's 1-6 now and they just went 11-6 last year.
Oh, the Jaguars?
Yes, the Jaguars. He is the Jaguars of the PGA Tour, getting featured on Full Swing, the whole bit, and I think he's just talked himself out of a PGA Tour card at this point. And so, what we were getting at real quick is he was carrying 15 clubs in the bag, didn't even realize that he had an extra 4-iron, and was assessed a 4-stroke penalty on Thursday. Ended up withdrawing from the Shriners. And these are the kinds of tournaments, these fall series events are the ones where guys like Joel Damon, Mark Hubbard, JT Poston, these mid-level dudes can really capitalize, earn higher status on the PGA Tour, make a good paycheck. So the fact that he pissed away that effort, when I think he's played pretty well in Vegas recently as well, that's a pretty big hit for Joel Damon. So he took it on the chin, though. His caddy wanted to say it was his fault, but Joel was like, no, dude, it's on me. It's not on Gino. So he's always going to stand up for his guy, but that's just a tough scene either way.
Yeah, Gino's a good dude, as we saw in Full Swing, but he can't. I know mistakes happen. You're going to hear about a big mistake in my Mulligan Monday here in about 10 minutes, but I don't even know how that happens when your whole career is on the line at this point. Like, if he doesn't make the top 125 and get status for next year, changes drastically everything he has to do for the next coming up year. And putting, like, you had to consciously, unless Gino really did, which you never know what happened behind the scenes, but he had to consciously put that 15th club in there and know that he had an extra club in the bag. So the fact that you didn't, like, or the caddy doesn't check that, like, I feel like there's got to be that's like an airplane taking off with the door open. I feel like there's just too many checks that should have happened before that being a 2-stroke penalty on the first 2 holes and starting out double.
Yeah, I mean, how does one of them not look in his bag on the range and be like, oh shit, there's 2 4-irons in there? Like, yeah, like you said, you got to be fucking out to lunch to not realize you have too many clubs. If you've been playing golf for your entire life, you know what 15 clubs looks like versus 14. So yeah, that's a pretty rough mistake either way. I would be pissed.
Yeah, we'll stick to the PGA Tour. So our winner from 2 weeks ago in Utah at the Black Desert Open. Unfortunate that this isn't a bigger event because the venue is really cool. I don't want to give Utah a lot of shout out because that state sucks in general. But the PGA Tour course was awesome. And I shot even par there, Black Desert back 9 on my simulator league 2 weeks ago. No big deal.
I was like, where are you going with this? But
I'm actually considering just playing sim golf. I'm 2 under and through 18 holes in my first 2 weeks of league. So I might just consider doing that. I think inside of 8 feet being good is really just helping my game a ton. But no, Matt McCarty won in Utah. And so a couple tweets from Monday Q Info. Matt McCarty didn't make All-State in high school. Matt McCarty didn't play at a huge D1 college program. Matt McCarty won just once in college. Now we're a little bit different after that third line. Otherwise, we're just exactly the same. Matt McCarty never made match play at the USAM. I did not as well. And then Matt McCarty just won on the PGA Tour, his 4th win in his last 14 events. And that parlays into this other tweet where Monday Q Info is also talking about Matt McCarty and just the insane amount of golf that he's played, this insane level of golf that he's played in the past 4 years. Just 4 months ago, Matt McCarty missed the cut at a Korn Ferry Tour event in North Carolina. He was 27th in the points at the time and 0 career wins. Since then, 12 of 12 on Korn Ferry Tour cuts, 3 wins, a runner-up, and 2 other top 5s. He made his first cut on the PGA Tour just a week before the Black Desert Open and wins. So this goes back to those guys where they're so good. And his last part of the tweet was, as I said earlier this week, the list of players in the world that have played better than him over the last 4 months is very short. And I'm adding this, paraphrasing, probably non-existent, to be honest. Like guys that win 3 straight Korn Ferry Tour events and then go and win on the PGA Tour within a 4-month span is pretty impressive golf from that dude, especially coming from, not being this household name, this USAM that's winning all this stuff. And not saying, like, Nick Dunlap's obviously a very good player and won a couple times on the PGA Tour. Guys like that have success, but it's more often than not guys with a lot of success in high school and college then have all the hype and don't turn into what their hype train, where their hype train is going. This guy is the opposite. His hype train was just a mere little toy train, and now it's turned into a full-blown locomotive, winning in the PGA Tour and securing his card for a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you getting hot at the right time and being in the right spot and playing really good golf. Because I saw another tweet, shout out Monday Q Info once again. He just doesn't miss with this shit. But this was kind of last week was first stage of PGA Tour Q School or Korn Ferry Tour Q School. And Fred Biondi, who won the 2023 national championship at Florida last year, got 4 PGA Tour exemptions, finished top 35 in 2 of those events on the PGA Tour. Just missed first stage of, he's missed second stage, so he didn't make it through first stage of Q School. So you've got the best college player in the world. He was an 8th ranked amateur in the world at the time last year when he turned pro, and he's going to be out on the mini tours. He's going to be Monday qualifying this year. So it just goes to show you, man, if you're playing good, you got to ride that hot hand. And look at Matt McCarty. A year ago, he just got Korn Ferry status, or, you know, was kind of mid-level. Like this summer, he was worried about losing his Korn Ferry Tour card. He was not inside the number. And then he rattles off these wins, and now he's a PGA Tour winner. Like 3 or 4 months of really good golf can change your life. It's just got to be really, really, really fucking good golf.
Yeah, it's got to be real upper level. Speaking of good golf, big shout out to Tim O'Neill as well. Timothy O'Neill, I should say. So he is on the Champions Tour, got his first win. Really cool video. You send it to me. I don't know if we tweeted it out, but like it's the last hole and he's got to hit a good shot, and his caddy, just cool back and forth between them. But he's like, you've done this 1,000 times. Dude's really nervous and hits it to like 4 feet, spins it right past the hole with the yellow ball. Very interesting, by the way. But Tim O'Neill is pretty famous for what he hasn't done in the world of golf. So I did a little research. He's missed the cut at PGA Tour qualifying school 2 different times by a single stroke. And one time he did it with a double bogey on the last hole. So he played on the Nationwide Tour back in 2005. He's had some second place finishes in there. He finally got to play in the US Open in 2015. But now, and he's played on the Alps Tour, PGA Tour Latin America, Web.com, Asian Tour, Golden Bear Tour, now on the PGA Tour of Champions from Jackson State University, where he actually won a ton in college, but just kind of like we talked about, one of those guys that never turned their college career and all the wins they had in college into a really good professional PGA Tour career. But now he's won the Dominion Energy Charity Classic on the Champions Tour, and really just a cool moment for him. He did the cry scenario afterwards, which like when you don't see it a ton because a lot of the PGA Tour Champions is filled with PGA Tour champions, just guys that won a lot on the PGA Tour, had storied careers, the Ernie Els, Fred Couples, guys like that. And then you have a guy like this that never really made it on the PGA Tour, still out there grinding at, let's see, he was born in 72, so he's 52 years old. Got grinding on the tour that they can play on and then winning. Like, that's incredible stuff.
100%. And I mean, I guess this guy's won on every single mini tour. He's a Savannah, Georgia guy. And he, like, just the fact that he hadn't won anything on any major tour, and he was quoted saying, I almost quit a few times. And I mean, what professional golfer hasn't? But it just goes to show you, just never giving up, you know, will eventually reap the rewards as long as you've got the level of commitment and talent. And for him to get that win, like you said, on 18, he was probably fucking shaking like crazy. And it's a 120-yard shot that he's hit a million times. And I think when you hear that from your caddy, that's actually a great comment, because you just go back to every single good shot you've hit from that distance, like as a good player like that. So just a great timely quote from the caddy to motivate him. And like you said, he almost hold it. So yeah, super cool story, and very happy for that guy.
I'm very happy for another guy, Jake Stiano, making his Q School return after being suspended for almost a year 27 years old, got suspended, as we talked about last year, for gambling. Put some dollars on the match, which I'm sure he won't be doing again. But he was suspended for 3 months for betting on golf. And now he's 2 stages away from completing his PGA Tour card. He won the first stage in Albuquerque, New Mexico by 7 shots, shot 13 under. Quote from him: "It was a weird year after everything that happened, knowing I didn't have anything to really play for or plan for. Everything was up in the air. I didn't play a ton of golf, but I almost needed it. I enjoyed life more, got to hang out with some buddies, do some fun stuff, and in a way, not be a professional golfer for a year. Helped me reset. I put a lot of hard work in, and it definitely gave me more hunger going into Q school this year." And this is something that, while he's a very good professional golfer, and we'll probably see him on the PGA Tour in a couple of years, I feel like this relates all the way down to your classic member at a golf course that plays a ton of rounds during the year and then takes some time off, whether it's an injury, whether it's a family trip, and then they come back and they're a little bit better. I think that doesn't matter the talent. Sometimes you can just literally play too much golf and be burnt out on it and feel like you're not getting anywhere or stuck in a rut.
100%. Playing more golf, like this is one thing I always tell people that makes golf so special is your effort level when it comes to golf doesn't always equate to better scores. You could practice and play a million times, grind literally 24/7 and get worse. And that is the craziest thing is it's as much mental as it is physical. So having a well-balanced lifestyle and actually like having some free time, you actually, like you said, see a lot of players come back at any level and they actually play better. Your general club player probably doesn't play enough golf to get that burnt out, but guys like these that are playing, he's at every Monday qualifier, and then if he misses, he's finding a mini tour event to play in. Like, these dudes are grinding all the time, and so to take a little bit of time off sounds like it did his game a lot of good. And I actually quoted him because Jake Sayano is another guy that we played against in high school. Well, you didn't, because he was a freshman the year after you graduated, so I was a junior. And I remember our first tournament of the year was at Highland Hills up in Westminster, and I think I shot 74 and got beat by 10 by Jake Sayano. He shot 64 his first ever round of high school golf. It was the first tournament of the year. And I'm like, this fucking 14-year-old just shot 64. Like that was just otherworldly to me. Like, I was, peacocking it around with my 74. I think I finished like 4th or whatever. And I get beat by 10 fucking shots by a 14-year-old. I will say though, in high school, he was the dude that was all or nothing. Cause I think the next week he shot like 85. And then the week after that, he shot 67. And then it was either like the 80s or the 60s. I don't know how many rounds he had in the 70s that year. But you could just tell from a very young age, this dude was more than capable of getting it done. And I mean, he's not a big guy. He's probably my size, maybe a little taller, obviously in much better physical shape at this point. But he can boom it, dude. He hits it like 320, 330. He can freaking move it. So, really happy for him. I would like to reach out to him at some point, see if we could get him on the pod. Josh Seipel was his teammate. So I never actually played with Jake. I played with Ross McDonald, who played at CU, and I played with Josh Seipel a lot, but I never played with Jake. So I'd like to get a rundown on how much he whooped my ass in high school.
Yeah, just like talk about his 14-year-old self just destroying you when you actually played pretty good. I mean, there's got to be kids in that tournament that are up there in the 120s. Didn't even get to play the back 9. They got ushered off the course after the first 9.
Funny enough, that was actually where I played my first varsity event as a freshman. Do you remember that? Because I was a freshman, you were a junior. I shot like 114. It was the worst fucking golf day of my life. I remember distinctly at one point I had lost so many balls. I pulled this Ram ball out of my bag, like a Ram golf ball, and I swear it wasn't even circular. Like, it was fucking oblong. I was just so deep in my bag because I lost so many balls that I was about to have to DQ myself John Daly style because I didn't have any fucking balls left. So I came back and avenged that a few years later by about 40 shots. Is that 40? Yeah, that's about 40. But still wasn't good enough. So, but just a nice little callback. I fucking felt a little accomplished after that.
Yeah, 30 shot. I mean, you needed 50 shots instead of 40 or 35, whatever you got. But
I only
good,
improved by 40. I needed 50.
good on you, Pally. All right, we're going to wrap this episode up with our Mulligan Monday. I'll start it out. So, Mulligan Monday is something that happened in the past weekend, wherever, where we wish we could take it back and have another shot at it. Being a dad, I feel like you have a Mulligan Monday every single week. But yesterday, we were sitting on the couch watching TV, watching football, kids running around like a tornado, just ruining our house, which he does every time he's not sleeping. And all of a sudden we hear kind of like a noise, and it sounds like it's away from us, like not around us. And I'm like, what the fuck where is that noise coming from? Our son got out the back door and started going out the back steps and decided he couldn't make it any further. So he started yelling for us. And we closed one of the doors, but the back door, he opened it himself, I guess. He's at that point. And so now we not only have to close our doors, but we have to lock them as well and make sure they're locked because he can't quite figure out the lock. I'm not sure what we're going to do when he gets to that point. But yeah, he was just making noise and didn't sound like he was inside the house. And he was indeed not inside the house. He was in the backyard on the stairs going to the backyard.
So you found him on the stairs, or was he at the bottom of the stairs?
He was in like the third stair from the bottom. So
okay.
I don't know how he got there. I don't know if he fell. I don't know if he crawled down. I don't know what happened, but he was down there. He can try to go down the stairs. Usually it's not without me, but he's attempted. So I don't know. He's got a decent scrape on the knee. So I'm assuming it was a fall of some sort, but it wasn't good. So in between having to clip him into his booster seat, that's a learned lesson. Now we just have to make sure all doors are closed and locked.
Yeah, your house is about to be like a jail, like an anti-toddler jail. Mine is just like fucking the worst. So basically I was on the airplane. We had just left New Orleans. There was plenty of alcohol consumed, plenty of food was eaten, and my stomach on the airplane wasn't great. Wasn't feeling 100% on the way back. So I made my way back to the restroom. Had to do some business. By the way, sitting down on that is the narrowest. Like, I feel bad for anybody that has to sit down in an airplane bathroom.
Yeah, you're not the right size for that. Yeah, that's like putting a square peg in a round hole.
Well, yeah, no, I agree, but like there's plenty of people like much larger than me, and that like even from a length standpoint, I'm not a tall guy either.
They probably just shit their pants if it's got to happen.
Well, so anyway, this lock on the door was a little deceiving. I thought it auto locked, and turns out it didn't, because some dude fucking rips open the door, and I'm like, oh fuck, and I'm just sitting there on my phone fucking scrolling Twitter on the toilet, and this dude I'm like, oh my god, and just fucking ripped it shut. I was so fucking embarrassed. And I ended up sitting there for like 10 more minutes just to make sure he was gone, so I didn't have to like walk by him or anything.
What do you know exactly what you said? Because in that situation, mine would have been the loudest of oh.
I think I was like, oh fuck. Like, I think I legit said that. And so the you know how you have to like slide the lock closed on the
pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, but the sign said lock, and the arrow was in the other direction. So I thought it auto locked, and I had to like push it open to unlock it, and definitely wasn't locked. So I will not make that mistake again, because oh fuck, dude, I was so embarrassed. And then I gotta pee when we get off the airplane, and I'm in the airport bathroom staring at my phone. I went into the short toilet because that's, easiest access, whatever. I'm not paying attention, and I literally just peed all over the top of this toilet. Like, and I was just staring at my phone, and I hear it, and it's just not fucking hitting it. It's just hitting porcelain like up. But it was like you said, you heard something further away. Usually when you're peeing in a urinal, you hear it like lower. This was hitting like 2 feet in front of me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I was just pissing all over the top of the toilet. I was like, oh my god, I gotta fucking get out of here. So my bathroom situation, on the airplane and at the airport was just a nightmare for me.
Damn. Well, that is actually made me laugh. That's hilarious. Somebody opening the shitter on you in the toilet in the plane has got to be all-time most awkward moments.
Oh my God. And I was like, imagine if that was a female. Like, I would have to shrivel up and flush myself down the toilet and just fucking drop off that plane, because there's something about being walked in on by a dude as a dude. But I think a female would feel the same way if it was a dude versus a chick. So I just did not feel good about it at all. I was definitely very embarrassed. So
yeah, you've joined your own special set of Mile High Club.
Yeah, getting walked in on, but not the good kind. Just fucking go into the bathroom, unfortunately. So
incredible stuff. Well, that wraps it up for us this week on Big Drive Energy. Make sure you're following us on all the socials. I am at Big Drive Spence. He is at Big Drive Mitch. We are at Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram. Alert, new name, Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram. Big Drive Energy on the X, and Big Drive Energy on TikTok. That's enough Big Drive Energies for you. That's enough Big Drive Energy for us today. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the weekend. We're about to hit the sports equinox. It's a great time of the year. Leaves are falling. It rained today at my house / blew all the leaves off my trees. They're yellow. It's a great time of the year. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you guys next week.
We all silly like the mayor.